Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Mysteries of the Past podcast. I'm Jonathan Ray, and I'm here with
Soul Provost.
and
Aiden Harris.
and
Lulu.
and today we're going to be talking about entertaining amusement park tragedies. So I guess I'll start off first. Anyways, so have y'all heard of the Big Dipper incident in the UK?
No.
No.
Good. Anyways, because that's the whole story. Anyways, basically what the Big Dipper was is it was this like big like wooden roller coaster. You know, that kids would go on. It was like one of those probably like entry level rides, right? But what happened was it was going up a hill, right, during the ride, and then like the little mechanism that was pulling it forward just like broke out of nowhere, and all the children go down and die. So, so
Oh.
yeah, that's basically the whole story. So like I think it was like 5 kids died or something, just small amount. I've killed more than that, and but yeah, it's really insane stuff. I was actually researching a bit into this, and I heard most of these are from the like the 1950s and 70s, and sometimes 80s, because back then the amusement park rules were a lot less like strict, because like you had a broken thing here and there, then who cares? Who cares? But yeah, that's what I found for that.
Yeah, I did hear something about how the safety requirements and regulations for amusement park rides was like very poor,
Yeah,
like throughout all this time, right? So yeah, makes that's what I was saying earlier. I found some stuff out about amusement parks that makes me be like, I don't know if I want to go on an
yeah.
amusement park ride again.
That one of the rides I've been scared to go on is the Superman. Like I'm like at Six Flags, I'm never going there. It's like
The Tower of Power?
yeah, whatever you want to call it. Because like
Is that what it's called now?
Well, it's Superman Tower of Power.
Oh, okay.
what a lame name. Anyways, personally, I never like. I mean, I could do the like the Batman. I've done the Mr. Freeze, but like I never. I don't. I'm not trying to go up high just to do high. Interpret that as you will. But anyways, I've like I went up like one ride that was like that, and it was like a fourth of the size of that. And then I fell all the way down, and then almost had a heart attack and died. Anyways, but yeah. Any of y'all got entertaining personal amusement park stories or just stories in general?
Yeah, I have one actually.
What is it?
So, a worker in 1974, she was about like 18 years old,
Mhm.
just got to American Saints, right, to do her job.
Yeah.
But while she was there, she was in the wrong place during the ride's intermission.
Mhm.
So the revolving platforms revolved, and she was crushed between the
Uh.
wheels of the attraction. It's unclear if it was bad training or an operator error, but of course, Disney being Disney, American Saints was closed for 2 days while the crew installed warning lights and the breakaway walls were preventing for further incidents.
Note to self: don't stand near the big death wheels.
Yeah.
I read a I read an article on the deadliest roller coaster week
What's that?
in history. Did you hear about this one?
I did not.
Okay, so the deadliest roller coaster week was it was a number of accidents that happened all within a 1 week span, all on roller coasters. The first accident happened on Friday, August 20th, 1999, and it was a 16-year-old named Matthew Hinn. And the park was Lake Compounce in Bristol, Connecticut. And the story said that Matthew was working a ride called the Tornado, and it's a twirling ride in a black tent. And it says that before the ride had come to a complete stop, Matthew crossed the yellow safety line and was struck by one of the carts, pinning him underneath and dragging him around the room. Um, so the way the ride looked, you guys know what the spider is?
No,
Ever
what's
see-
that?
It's like this ride where it's like got these really long legs and they're like have these little carts and it spins in a circle and the carts spin themselves and so like they go up, they come down and all that kind of stuff. So according to this like the safety measures and precautions, it wasn't unusual for the operator because that's who Matthew Hinn. He was the operator of the ride. So it wasn't uncommon for the operators to step past the safety line while the ride was still in motion. But for some odd reason, in this case, he didn't see it coming, and it like literally landed on him, like pinned him on the ground, and then as it was still in motion, like coming to a complete stop, it was still dragging him around the room. Um, it says that firefighters had to use airbags to free Matthew. He was airlifted to the nearest hospital, but he would pass away the following morning. So that was the first incident. There was the second incident that happened on uh, just 2 days later, Sunday, August 22nd, 1999, at Paramount Great America Amusement Park in Santa Clara, California. It was a 12-year-old named Joshua Smurfett. Joshua was excited to ride the drop tower that would lift them 200 feet into the sky and then drop them for a 129-foot free fall before the magnetic brake system would engage, and that would bring the ride to a stop. It says that due to some computer errors, only 3 of the 5 tracks were operational. Um, and so, because of that, there wasn't enough room for Joshua and his mom to get on the ride. There was only enough spots for just him. So the mom was like, you know what, you go ahead and get on, and I'll just wait for you. So it says that when the ride began to come down, right as it hit the brakes, there was a spot like a very minimal space between the shoulder harness and the seat itself. And it says that when the brakes were engaged, that Joshua, that he slipped through and he fell like another 50 feet. And it says that because of the speed of the ride when it was coming down, when he was thrown from the chair, that he was moving at about 60 miles an hour. When he hit the concrete at the base of the ride. And it said that he hit the concrete 10 feet away from his mom.
Wow.
So his mom watched the whole thing. So 2 years prior to this accident happening, a fire captain had noticed that same gap between the harness, the shoulder harness, and the seat, and he had recommended that they add some sort of like seatbelt safety mechanism that would strap to the chair and to the harness to keep it from moving up, and would eliminate anybody being able to slip through that crack there. Then we have Timothy Fan on August 23rd, the very next day, 1999, at King's Dominion in Virginia. It says that eyewitnesses saw Timothy acting awkwardly, wiggling and struggling against the shoulder restraints. It says as the coaster and then, I believe the coaster, did I not write it down? I know it was like Sky something. I forgot to write that down. It says, as the coaster began to come down the first initial drop, Timothy's body had contorted into a sideways position. In the story, as they were talking about it, they're not sure what this kid was doing. Well, he was like 21, I think, so he wasn't like necessarily a kid. But
yeah, he's pretty old.
So basically, they said like the eyewitnesses said that they saw him like trying to wiggle himself free or something like that. And then so when they got up to the top of the hill, apparently he had gotten free. He'd gotten out of his restraints, and so when the ride started going, he was not strapped in, and that's why it said that like after that first drop on the first churn, like his body had churned and he was like hanging sideways trying to hold on, is the way they were describing it. And then it says when the ride went into a 180-degree curve, the G forces were too much for Timothy to hang on. He was thrown from the cart about 50 feet, and he hit the ground he landed on one of the pathways, like on the concrete. It says that the blunt force trauma that he took to the head, like basically killed him on the spot, and he was pronounced dead on site. Um, the investigators revealed that when the coaster came back into the terminal, the arm bars and seat belts were in the locked position, right? And this is where they were saying that witnesses said that they saw him like trying to wiggle free, um, and they didn't understand what he was doing. But when it came back in, like when the thing came back into the terminal, they seen like the arm bars weren't like malfunctioning, the safety belt was still connected. So somehow this guy managed to free himself um, on the ride. I could talk about thrill seeker, right?
Yeah.
You know, adrenaline junkie, right? Um, then we have on August 28th, 1999, in Wonderland Pier, at Wonderland Pier in Ocean City, New Jersey, we have Kimberly, Jessica, and Catherine Bailey. It says that uh, Catherine was too young to ride the ride, so she was waiting for her mom and sister. And it says that Kimberly and Jessica, they got onto a ride called the Wild Wonder roller coaster. So basically, it takes you up. Um, I don't know. In Denver, they have this ride called the Chipmunk, and it's like these little carts that they make look like chipmunks, and it takes you up this hill, and then you like go sideways and you come down slowly, but like you got like these tight turns, and it's like this
Yeah.
really narrow track. So when you're going, it almost looks like you're gonna fall off, and then you like churn, really quick.
Is that how they died?
So the way um, their unfortunate story unfolds is they got on the ride. 2 hours prior to them getting on the ride, another mother, and her daughter were on that very ride, and they were complaining that when they got off the ride, they were complaining that it was like jolting around a lot, and it just felt very unsafe. Um, but the park officials, they took into consideration what she had said, but and then it said that they stopped the ride. They had closed it for about like 30 minutes so that they can investigate what they said. The ride people didn't find any issues, so they went ahead and reopened the ride back up. And then this is when Kimberly and Jessica come along. They get on the ride. It says when the roller coaster began to climb the first hill, the chains that would connect and carry it up the hill slipped, and the cart began to fall backward. Um, Initially, they would have the safety measures in place where, um, like when you're going up and it's like clack 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 clack. So what you're hearing there is you're hearing these safety. I forget what he called it, but it's like these little pieces that, as they're going over, like there's this little lip here, and then it goes over, and the piece will click. So for some reason, if the chain were to slip, those pieces are going to make sure that the cart itself doesn't roll back. Um, but because of the location of the ride being very close to some um, residential areas, the the park had kept getting complaints because of that clack 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 noise as it was going up. So what the park had done was they removed that safety feature, and they introduced like these like little brake pad type things where uh, like in the event of there being some sort of malfunction and it needs to be the fail safe, those things would like basically lock on like a brake and hold it nice and tight. But in this case, the like pads themselves had already worn down. They were like basically not even existent when this happened. So the chain slipped. Instead of those safety features being there to catch it, it kept coming down. And when the ride comes out of the terminal, it has a 90-degree like sharp turn before it begins its climb, right? So when this cart came racing down the track backwards and it hit that turn, it was never designed to take a 90-degree turn at that speed,
Oh.
right? So when it hit that turn, the mom and the daughter were thrown out of the cart, and I think it said they landed like a good like 15, 20 feet away. And it said that they both experienced blunt force trauma to the head, which ended up killing both of them.
Yeah, it must have been some BMW designers.
Wow.
So yeah, that is the deadliest roller coaster week.
Mm. Did y'all hear about the Action Park amusement park?
Uh,
Mm-mm.
It was like a park from New Jersey, and the thing is they had these rides, and like in your head they sound good, but in the actual real world where physics applies, it doesn't really work because like one of them was a slide, but it was a loop de loop slide. So the idea is you'd go all the way down, and then you go in a loop de loop. But the thing is that like the loop was like way too big, and and most people couldn't like go at that speed unless they weighed like 2 grams. Anyway, so the person would like go all the way down the slide, and they wouldn't reach sufficient speed. And then what would happen is they like come right out, like all bruised and battered, and they go into the pool. And another thing is they had this. I think they had this like. I think it was called like a hay bale ride or something like that, and you'd have a little controller thing, and it dictates the speed that you go down, and but the thing is they didn't have any safety measures, so if you went too fast, then you're gonna fly out, and it was overall just a really bad like park. There was like barely any safety regulations. They got sued multiple times, and then and then it was open for like 18 years from like 1978 to 1996, and I'm surprised it took them that long, especially since New Jersey. Actually, not surprised, but anyways. And then but yeah, that's when I heard about that, I was like, that's crazy how like after like maybe like 3 injuries, I think someone would be like, hey, you gotta check out some type of like construction organization. I don't really know what the name is, but like after like after the first death, then like I don't know if I said death before, but I'm an injury. But anyways, a couple injuries here and there, okay, fine, that happens everywhere. But like once a death happens, and then there's another death and another death and another death. I think like 11 people died in total. It's like that shouldn't be happening. I'm no.
definitely start checking.
Yeah. I think I did like a smell test or something like that if the engineering was wrong.
When was that?
It was from 1978 to 1996, but I think most of the injuries took place in like the 80s.
Yeah. Well, in New Jersey, the Six Flags Great Adventure Park, they had one of what a lot of people say is one of the worst amusement park deaths that they've ever seen. Where they just recently opened their Haunted Mansion castle.
Okay.
And so it's basically just this little experience where you walk through it, you see all the ghosts, all those things, you go at your own pace, and then you just walk out. Well, since it was not technically a ride, they were able to get away with not adding in any safety features at all. Well, there was about a big group of high school kids who decided to go at one time. And they all went in, and they were just hanging out in there. And all of a sudden, like somebody lit like a little lighter and decided they wanted to like look around. And
Smart
they
kid.
caught the side of the inside on fire. Since all of that stuff is flammable,
At least they can see now.
this little thing's made out of plywood and has a bunch of foam ghosts inside. So of course it catches on fire. And people are like, oh, smoke. It's just part of the little building, it's supposed to be haunted. And then most people, they're like, this kind of smells like fire. They make their way out since there's like 30 people in it.
No, it's part of the attraction.
And then once people realize it's on fire, immediately, like they get people in there. They're able to, what they think is get everybody out. Well, things on fire. They're like, okay, we got it, whatever. About 7 teenagers are out, and they're in like critical condition. And then once the fire's out, they later go back and they find 8 bodies. They didn't notice. All of them had like fallen, couldn't get out by one of the exits. And that's why it was like blocked. People couldn't get out because people had already fallen by the exit. So they didn't really care until about 10 years later when New Jersey sued the Six Flags for not having proper safety measures. Like, they didn't have any way of telling people, hey, there's a fire in here. There was no sprinklers, no smoke alarms, anything.
Wow.
So
Wait,
nothing happened with their lawsuit because it was there so temporarily. They were like, well, New Jersey, we didn't have to. We
Yeah.
didn't have to add all those things. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
Imagine
right.
putting out a fire, all those people there, and then not noticing. There were 8 other people still stuck in there.
It
This-
is part of the ride. It's to help you join the other ghosts.
Wait, the state of New Jersey like sued Six Flags and not the families?
Nope.
I was like,
Well, yeah, no.
I'm pretty sure the families got a piece of.
maybe they would have been a little mad, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure because usually when you have like those class action lawsuits and things like that, usually the people who are affected by it will
Yeah.
at least be informed that something like that is happening, where they'll get some sort of.
I mean,
compensation.
maybe it wasn't that bad. There was only 8 dead kids after all. So, anyways,
And then,
didn't you go some?
well, for that, I guess the defense argued the fire was arson, and the jury found the park not guilty in a criminal trial.
W.
So,
Did y'all hear about the Fusion Raisin, the second, like, roller coaster? It's a Japanese, all right? It's a Japanese roller coaster, so it's don't make fun of my poor Spanish accent or whatever you want to call it, you know what I'm
Transition so fast.
saying?
the Fusion Raisin roller coaster.
On to this Japanese one.
Spanish,
Anyways, ain't no one care about them kids. Anyways,
Spanish accent.
so there was a roller coaster. Nah, really? Anyways, and basically it was one of those with wheels. You don't know roller coaster with wheels. Anyways, it was I think it was also in the 80s, I think. And what happened was they had like a broken axle that's been broken for like 15 years, and no one ever checked on it because the laws back then were like way less strict than they are now. And then after that, basically what happened was they're like, oh man, it's broken. Thankfully, they figured it out before any dead people happened, but I'm just joking. Anyways, what happened was it derailed and then it hit some poor like guy who was next to the park, and then it flew off and hit him. It was like aim assist or something, Anyways, but yeah, that's what I learned about that. Maybe I shouldn't be laughing.
Yeah.
Somebody got
So,
hit.
In July 1999, in a Denver theme park, I think Elitch Gardens,
Okay.
a woman sued the park because of injuries she obtained during a roller coaster called the Mind Eraser, which is marketed as a monster coaster that takes people through dives, double corkscrew spins, rollovers.
A double what
great-
now?
at
It's a great ride.
speeds.
I know the ride you're talking about. I've been on it many times.
Did anyone die there?
Um,
I'm
Well-
serious. I rode that ride many times.
Huh.
That's why I said, go ahead. You finish first. I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
takes you at speeds greater than 55 miles per hour, and plaintiff said the ride gave her a bloody eye, slurred speech, and memory loss, and at least 21 other people also complained of injuries from the ride.
You know what? Now that I think about it.
One time I was at Six Flags in Arlington, and there's one purple ride. I forgot what it is, but it's one where like I don't know, it goes forward and then it goes like backwards, something like that. But anyways, and there's like stereotypical roller coaster where like it goes up and then there's like a big drop, and then what happens is it like stops, and then it just goes, and then you go all the way down, and then with the speed of that fall, it like you get like you go like 80 miles an hour towards like the other side of the roller coaster. Then I died, but okay, anyways, and then but yeah, it was just one of the most horrifying experiences I've ever been on, because like it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like a motor, transporting the cart ahead. It just, it's a straight fall, And it's like, but yeah, not a big fan of roller coaster unless they're like, I might have to take the other kiddie rides from now on.
Hmm.
Y'all got any other experiences?
I do have a little story. Nothing bad really happened. I just thought it was interesting
Mhm.
because, like, a long time ago, before I was alive, obviously, my mom was in like a cheerleading like theme, and she went to Disney World on the Tower of Terror, and the ride got stuck. And apparently, instead of like nowadays, like how they would put the ride down like slowly, like an elevator, and
Yeah.
back it up, they didn't do that. They had to call the whole fire department,
Wow.
go all the way up there, get them, and then go all the way down. No one got hurt. I
Wow.
just thought it was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
pretty intense.
What if the ride fell during
Yeah.
that time?
I guess I wouldn't be here.
Well, what if the firefighters didn't have a big enough ladder to get up there? Maybe they use plungers or something to get up there.
Then she'll be there forever, never leaving.
Yeah, shout out to me to get
Um,
DoorDash from now.
Also, also at Six Flags Over Georgia, June 2008. Wow. The
Long time.
It was famous for a Batman ride that actually decapitated a park guest on the 28th of June. A passing car had hit the teenager while they were retrieving a lost hat.
Maybe they were criminals.
Oh, I saw
Well,
that
I saw
story.
that too.
I did see that one.
They, he and another boy had entered the restricted area, but the other guy wasn't hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, like they were saying the ride basically came down as he was going through that restricted area and just like took his head off. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's intense.
He really did get vengeance. Have y'all seen those videos, those like amusement parks in like India, and there's just some random Indian dude like climbing on the ride, and they just gets like flung off.
I was watching this video. I didn't write any notes down on it. Where was it at? I think it was like one of the carnivals. It wasn't a full on amusement park.
Uh-huh.
So like the way this ride was is like it swung you side to side,
Yeah,
but it was like this disc where the disc would actually spin itself, right?
I think I've been on one of those.
Yeah. So the ride was moving and it was operating fine, but like midway through the ride, like some people on the side started noticing that it started like kind of rocking a little bit. And then like just in a matter of seconds, it went from rocking to like swaying like really bad. And then as it was like coming through, it was about to like start going up. It literally like breaks, the whole thing breaks and like slams onto the ground. And one of the guys, he was like he was smashed, he was like crushed by it, and like there was a like handful of people who were injured, but there was only that one fatality, which was the one guy who he was like just he got the the brute end of the whole thing. Like it like literally landed on top of him. So yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Wow.
And I guess I say that because you mentioned like seeing rides like that in China.
Yeah,
Like I saw this one in China where it was very similar. It was like a massive like swing like that, and it like just broke off, and like you just see the people go
Yeah.
flying.
Oh no.
So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
The other ones were all copying that one.
I saw a lot where people would like suddenly die on rides, but it's because they had like previous heart problems and they were just
Yeah.
like, I'll be fine. And then they weren't. There was one in like the UK where this, I don't know, like 8 or 9 year old girl, her parents blamed it on the fact that she ate a bunch of candy, and then like tried to sue them, but she had previous heart condition that they just like didn't know about. So she was on a ride and all of a sudden she just like, I don't know, was kind of freaking out a little bit too much. And I don't know, like she just passed away, like while she was on the ride. and they were like, it's because she ate too much candy. They were like, y'all shouldn't have let her on the ride, like blah blah blah, all this stuff, and was like trying to sue them. And they were like, she has a heart condition.
Yeah.
Y'all shouldn't have let her on the ride.
Yeah.
But I wonder
I-
how they thought they were gonna get away with that.
Yeah, right.
It's like letting a pregnant woman on a ride, you know? Like, personally, if I was pregnant, wait a minute. Anyways, if I was a pregnant lady, right, and I was like, I wouldn't risk nothing, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to protect my baby boy or girl, you know what I'm saying? And even at that, you know, if I have like some sort of like major health condition, it doesn't matter what it is, like, you know, like either heart conditions or like seizures or like anything epilepsy. It's like I'm not risking anything that I don't know of, that I haven't looked into a lot, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I'm not the smartest person in the world, but like, you know, I think it'd be nice to look up something. Maybe they didn't have the internet back then, but you know, I think it'd be nice to like look into the ride you're going on before, you know, go on this big death machine, you know.
Maybe
yeah.
they were like told of people who had so much fun on it, and they
Yeah.
were like, you know what? I don't care about this. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah.
I have a story pulled up here. It says it's about Rosa Donaldson. She was a 52-year-old woman from New Orleans, and it says that she was taking care of her 4-year-old grandson for the summer. She purchased season passes to the zoo, the aquarium, the museum, and Six Flags New Orleans Amusement Park. It says on July 10th, 2003, it was supposed to be an entertaining evening at Six Flags when it turned out to be an awful tragedy. It says that her 4-year-old grandson was getting ready to ride one of the park's newest attractions, the Joker's Jukebox, which consists of 30 cars that spin on 6 moving arms. It says that Donaldson entered into a restricted area to ensure that her grandson was properly fastened just as the operator started the ride. It said one of the spinning cars hit her on the head and another hit her in the abdomen immediately afterwards, and it says that she bled to death before she could even arrive at the hospital. And now, because of that, the ride plays a safety announcement before it begins. So that's probably, I wouldn't doubt that that's probably why, like, because you mentioned about like the heart conditions and things like that. And now I don't know if you've noticed, if you guys have noticed, but I do notice that like they play those announcements before you get on a ride.
Yeah, I
It'll
don't
be like
know.
if you have any heart conditions or this and that, like, you know, maybe you shouldn't get on the ride. And then like even before you go to get on rides, like for instance that Mind Eraser ride you're talking about, like it literally tells you when you're going in there. It's like there's like a warning sign before you even go into like the little like gated area where the line is to get on the ride. There's a warning sign there now that tells you to be aware.
Wow.
Do we got any other stories?
Mm,
A 25-year-old man was hit by the dangling legs of a rider from the flight deck at the Ohio Park Cedar Point. And there were allegedly issues with his ability to understand the warning signs, and he had entered the restricted area to retrieve a hat. He was pronounced dead an hour later at the hospital, and the rider's leg was broken.
All
That's
these people
insane.
keep going into restricted areas.
Yeah.
It's
Honestly,
restricted
not-
for a reason.
Honestly, not sure if it's really like the theme park's fault or just people not thinking things through.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I saw this video. It was like, there was this one ride and it looked kind of like an hourglass, except it spun like a Ferris wheel. It was like 10 times faster, you know. And it was just this big hourglass spinning. And there's this worker, and there was like a dog or something. And I don't know how the dog got up there, but he was about to go on the ride thing where the ride was about to, you know, hit. And so in order to save the dog, he tried to get the dog out of the way, and then he got hit, and then he got like flung. And it's like, You know, it's crazy how you can get that like hit that hard. That like you know you fly away like Team Rocket from Pokemon. You know what I'm saying? It's like I mean I could be wrong on this, but I believe that would hurt. You know,
Maybe.
could be wrong. Could be wrong.
I think I would second that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be pretty painful.
You might get injured as well.
Yeah.
But
Well,
we'll
I
never
think-
know.
what was it?
We'll never know.
Yeah, we'll never know. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to wrap it up for this episode. Thank you guys for watching the Mysteries of the Past podcast episode, whatever it is right now, probably 7. And thank you all for watching. Bye bye.